I was really shocked at the intelligence, how smart he was, Brandon Marshall told NFL.com before the 2015 season. I had known him as a player from afar. I didn't know his football IQ was so high. He had crazy passion. When I talked to him, I fell in love with the conversation. Who was Marshall talking about back in 2015? Geno Smith. Yes, that's right, Geno Smith. Marshall was so impressed with the young quarterback that he specifically requested a trade to the Jets in 2015 to play with Smith. Receiver Eric Decker cited similar reasons for joining the Jets a year earlier after noting Smith's mental strength and potential, saying, "I want to be a part of this kid's growth because I really see something that stands out." If these quotes were nameless, would you attribute them to Geno Smith? And while you're gorging yourself with turkey, stuffing and mashed potatoes this Thanksgiving weekend, chew on this for a bit. Geno Smith's passer rating in his final 7 Jets games was superior to Eli Manning's best year. And that there is an active NFL quarterback who was an early second-round pick who uplifted his team to an 88 record in his first season starting on a team predicted to win 4 games or fewer, won at least half of those games in dramatic fashion by leading game-winning drives, began the next year 17 before being benched by his coach, bounced back at end of same year, and displayed great growth. Which QB would you pick? If you chose Geno Smith, you would be absolutely correct. But if you chose Drew Brees, you would also be correct. The young careers of Smith and Brees are so similar they could pass for twins. Here is the first of many looks at these two QBs. Ability images. Geno Smith vs. Drew Brees. Brees and Smith first 3 seasons each was a backup for 1 season. Geno had nearly identical passing stats with Brees, who began his career with the Chargers. When adding Geno's 646 yards and 7 TDs on the ground, he clearly surpasses young Drew. In his first 2 seasons as starter, Drew also had Hall of Fame running back support in young LaDainian Tomlinson, who gained over 2,000 yards of total offense in both years. LT's 2,370 combined yards in 2003 was the second best in NFL history at the time. The great Brees still went 17, got benched, and closed out the season 29. By his 4th season, Drew would have an 114 breakout season as top target. Antonio Gates and a new revamped defense would emerge as well. Geno. His number 1 running back was Chris Ivory. His number 1 receiver was Jeremy Curley. By his 3rd season, an injured Geno Smith would become a punchline, literally. Had Brees not received another chance after finishing 29 in 2003, had be Geno Smith and not a future Hall of Famer. If that alternate NFL reality troubles you, please read on with an open mind. Brees soon received Hall of Fame help, but Smith's on-field legacy has been judged by his 17 second-year start to this very day. Forgotten, or never realized, was 1. His remarkable rookie season. 2. The incredible misevaluation of that rookie season. 3. The impossible working conditions during his 17 second-year stretch. 4. The fact that he played most of his games without a starting caliber receiver number 1 or 2. 5. His 105.3 passer rating over his final 4-game second-year stretch. 6. His insane untapped potential. The rest of this article will chronologically address these areas. At over 3,300 words, this review does not target Giant readership so much as Giants leadership. Casual readers should feel free skip to the sections they prefer. Football fans have written Geno's football obituary, sports media have engraved the tombstone, and my dear fellow Jets fans tell me Geno is garbage. But if one fan's trash is another fan's treasure, the Giants may have a crown jewel on their bench, and it's not Davis Webb. In signing Smith this offseason, Giants head coach Ben McAdoo hinted at Smith as a possible successor to Eli. "I can't see why not," McAdoo said at the time. With LS Giants flailing, it's time to put Geno Smith's career on the examining table, and set the record straight. McAdoo's own future may even depend on it. Geno's remarkable rookie season. 2013 Sports Illustrated predicted the Chargers would finish 412 in 2003, but young Brees and Tomlinson would uplift the team to an 88 mark that included 4 game-winning drives. In 2013, the national media consensus was that the Jets were a 313 team. Here were their preseason predictions: 214, SB Nation 313, Sports Illustrated 313, Bleacher Report 412, CBS Sports SI's NFL preview asked the easy question: where are the playmakers? How did the Jets defy the experts and finish 88? Geno Smith, the team's new playmaker, that's how. Unlike previous Jet QBs, gangrene didnt win in spite of Geno. It won because of him. In Smith's first NFL game, he received the ball back on the 20-yard line with only 34 seconds left and led the Jets to a game-winning drive. "The kid's composure is ice," said Jets veteran Willie Colon at the time. 2 weeks later, Smith led a comeback win over the Bills, and 2 weeks after that he led another cool calm comeback drive, 44 passing to beat the Falcons as time expired. In a 5-week span, Geno led come-from-behind wins against Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and, wait for it, Drew Brees. Smith did all this despite the Jets' 19th-ranked defense in points allowed, 26th-ranked offensive line by PFF, and likely the NFL's worst receivers. In 2013, there was universal praise of Geno's poisoned veteran composure from coaches including Bill Belichick to sports writers to opposing players. "That guy has a bright future," said 3-time All-Pro defensive tackle Gerald McCoy, who was absolutely baffled by Geno's resilience. "A quality of his that stands out the most is how situationally aware he is," wrote Bleacher Report. Situational awareness rarely shows up in box scores, but an article on the team's website, 6 Ways Geno Was Better Than Some Think, did a fine job of quantifying some of it. Poise on 3 road-long. Smith led the NFL in third-long pass completions, and his 31 completions of 25 yards or more was 7th in league rushing. Poise, his league-leading 6 rushing touchdowns came in 6 separate wins. While not a run-first QB, Geno often extended plays at critical junctures in Elway-esque fashion. Wins his 5 game-winning drives tied Tom Brady for most in the NFL. Jason DeCrewap. In 2013, Smith was discussed as the Jets' franchise quarterback. Wherever it was you were seeing this poised performance, you knew with certainty that here was the Jets' quarterback of the future, wrote the Daily News' Philip Bondi, after what he did against the Patriots, outplaying Tom Brady in this 3027 overtime victory. There can be no doubt about him any longer. Smith is the man. In 2013, Geno really was the man. 2. The incredible misevaluation of Geno. 2013 Most positive media came from local New York writers who actually had Geno's games, and echoed many pre-draft reports that praised his leadership, poise, and accuracy, and viewed him as a franchise quarterback and top 5 pick. ESPN QB analyst and Super Bowl winning head coach John Gruden saw Smith as a guy you could take number 1. Others referenced his game intelligence, his work ethic, and rigorous film study that resulted in more hours in WVUFB building after midnight than the custodial crew. NFL GMs and national media were unimpressed. After 2013, ESPN conducted an anonymous poll of 26 NFL league insiders, mostly GMs and coaches, to rank all 32 starting QBs. Geno came in dead last. ESPN quoted one coordinator comparing him to Akili Smith and Jamarcus Russell, 2 famous black QB busts, and stated, "I think the way Geno Smith played last year was close to that. Except it was nowhere close. Not even the same galaxy as Akili Smith career 314 record and 46.6% completion. The only thing Geno ever shared with Akili are last names and skin tone. It gets worse." NFL.com ranked Geno 33 out of 34, and Bleacher Report's final 2013 power rankings listed Geno at 43 of 48 QBs. Yes, 11 backup QBs slipped past Geno, who finished behind Matt McGloin 15, Matt Flynn cut twice in 2013, and Scott Tolzien still seeking first career win in 2017. Sigh. How is all this even possible? The insane misevaluation of Geno Smith is worthy of a whole separate article. It ranges from racist scouting reports, to more subtle biases, to devaluing mobile QBs, to lazy copycat writers and groupthink, to absurd sports analytic rankings, where arbitrary data is plugged into some computer and spits lists devoid of any real football context, including wins. Instead of praising Smith for creating 5 extra wins with Mo, Larry and Curly as his receivers, Geno's critics dismiss his game-winning heroics as arbitrary luck, rather than praise his poisoned leadership, cherry-pick and isolate his 12.21 TDINT rookie rate but fail to factor in his extra 6 game-changing rushing TDs and quality of receivers. Correctly note he struggled with accuracy, but perceive this common rookie adjustment as some permanent affliction instead of a natural growth process. And yet, Geno's completion rate of 55.8% surpassed the rookie campaigns of Drew Brees, Alex Smith, Andrew Luck, Matthew Stafford, Eli Manning and nearly his brother Peyton, 256.7. Smith 111, Stafford 1520, and both Mannings had more INTs than total TDs. Despite similarities to Brees in 2003, his critics simply saw more Achille than Drew. The million-dollar question: if Geno Smith received absolutely zero credit for creating 8 wins with a 3-win team, how can we possibly trust these same NFL experts to properly perceive and contextualize his 17th start in 2014? We can't. They are unqualified. 3. The impossible working conditions of Geno 2014 to explain Eli Manning's poor 28 start. More ink has been spilled on the Giants' porous offensive line and injured receivers than the Football Analysis Geno has received in 5 years. All QBs need support. Even the greatest QBs have early career struggles. Here are Geno and Drew before they were benched. Pretty uncanny. Brees and Smith had identical slumps. Again, Brees bombed despite Tomlinson's heroics. Geno's 17th start came against impossible odds that included epic defensive collapse. Jets opponents averaged 28.5 points, good for dead last in NFL had it been for the season. No starting receivers. Newly signed Eric Decker, a strong number 2 receiver, was plagued with hamstring injuries, and Jeremy Curley, a solid number 3 receiver, remained his number 1. Top opponents. Past defenses. 6 of the Jets' 8 opponents had winning records in 2014, including 3 12-win teams. 7 of the 8 games were against top 17 pass defenses. The pass defenses Smith faced was not something I gave much thought until I saw this tweet by @awfulwhite. In past 3 years, Fitzpatrick has faced a top pass defense in only 18% of his games. Geno has faced a top pass D in 58% of his games. https://t.coish3 whims of Awfulwhite QBs at Awfulwhite. October 19, 2016. As an ironclad NFL rule, when you mix together top pass opponent defenses with your own backup wide receivers and league worst defense, bad things happen to good QBs. When receivers can't create separation amidst a 20-point deficit, QBs are often pressured to make plays and force throws into small holes. With Geno, with Eli, and with Drew, coincidentally, the only other QB to be saddled with a last-place defense, and Curly as his number 1 option, was Colin Kaepernick in 2016. Last year, Cap never had a chance. Brees' 4th-year breakout season was also accompanied by a breakout defense 31-11, and offensive support from 2 future Hall of Famers. Robert Deutsch, USA Today Sports IV. Geno's forgotten LATESEASON surged 2014 after their mid-season benchings. Drew and Geno were replaced by their celebrity backups Doug Flutie and Michael Vick, but neither veteran fared any better. They would both return, and here is how they closed out their seasons. Geno bounced back much stronger than Drew, and nearly won all 4 games. OT loss. 1 point loss to Patriots. His 105.3 passer rating would be the last uninterrupted stretch the NFL has seen from Smith. Why did Geno improve so much? For the only stretch of his career, Smith had 2 starting caliber number 2 wide receivers. A healthy Decker would average over 100 yards receiving over those last 4 games, including the season finale where Decker enjoyed his only 200-yard receiving game of his career. Percy Harvin, a mid-season trade acquisition, also had his final 100-yard career game with Smith. Decker and Harvin may not much like Jerry Rice and John Taylor to you, but they must have to Geno. In his 2 years, his other starting receivers were an injury-ravaged Santonio Holmes, a washed-up Kellen Winslow Jr., Stephen Hill, David Nelson, Clyde Gates, Greg Solis, Jeff Cumberland, Jason Morrow and Zach Sudfeld. Again, they all started. Now please read that list again. Of Geno's 12 starting receivers, only Decker and Curly remain in the NFL. Many Geno advocates say he never had a number one receiver. Besides a few games, he's never really had a number two. Receivers really matter. Just ask Eli Manning. Or ask Kirk Cousins. In this article last December, Cousins was 16,101 with a 102.5 passer rating when he played with his Pro Bowl tight end Jordan Reed. When Reed got hurt, Kirk's record and rating plummeted to 110 and 75.6, respectively. Before Cousins gets a $100 million contract next year, is any NFL GM curious how high Geno can fly with some real weapons? Despite Geno's overall tough second year, he quietly showed 3 growth areas. 1. He cut down on his interceptions. 2. He dramatically improved his passer rating post-benching 98.33 in his only glimpse with 2 healthy starting wide receivers. He performed like a Pro Bowler. Smith was perfectly primed for that classic breakout season in 2015, but it was not to be. He would famously get his jaw broken by a teammate Ike Enemkpali over a $600 dispute, and the rest is revisionist history. Backup Ryan Fitzpatrick would hijack Geno's 2015 coming-out party. Robert Sabo, New York Daily News. The Fitz illusion. 2015 for many, Ryan Fitzpatrick's 10 wins in 2015 only confirmed Smith's previous season as a failure, and to his credit, Fitz played well. But he took over a completely different team with a new coach, new wide receivers, a new defense 24th to 9th, and a charming soft schedule with only 4 games against teams with winning records. Geno's 2014 Jets faced 10 winning teams and 6 with at least 11 wins. Brutal. In 2016, the Jets' schedule got harder, the defense softer, and Fitz went 38. Would a healthy Geno and dynamic duo of Marshall Tucker catching passes make the playoffs in 2015? Based on what Geno did with so much less, there can be little doubt. Smith's broken jaw likely cost him tens of millions in a new Jets contract, but Smith was media painted as perpetrator more than victim. Getting punched magically became a character flaw in a sport where team fights are as common as concussions. Roger Staubach once got sucker-punched by his backup QB, he later punched him back, and the next year the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. In the NBA, Michael Jordan once punched teammate Steve Kerr in the face, and they won 3 titles together. It's all not that serious. Just ask the Jets. Kevin Green once attacked his Panthers assistant coach. This year, the Jets hired Green as their linebackers coach, perhaps to restore their locker room culture. More recently, reports surfaced that Brock Osweiler had a physical altercation with head coach Bill O'Brien. Brock's attack was a muted one-day story, and this past week Osweiler was back starting with the Broncos. He has since been replaced by 2016 first-round pick Paxton Lynch. But tell me again how Geno missed a meeting 3 years ago. Let's be clear. If Geno fought his coach like Brock, he'd be gone from the league like Cap. Is race a factor? Of course it is. Whether on or off the field, Geno does not get to play by Brock's rules, or Josh McCown's rules, or Fitz rules. Geno already knows this. Last week, I outlined some of the extreme and exclusive patience and privilege many white QBs receive, which complements previous long-term success before it. The problem is not that Geno can't have 7 separate losing seasons like old Fitz, it's that he can't even have half a losing season like young Breeze. As an educator before a columnist, the insane misevaluation of Smith strikes a deep visceral nerve. Geno is that super bright kid in class who knows he can be a great engineer, doctor, or lawyer, but ends up dropping out because he is trapped in a crappy school with crappy teachers incapable of realizing his incredible strengths, so they suspend him instead. The only thing sadder than untapped potential is unrecognized potential. Julio Cortez App v. Geno's insane untapped potential 2017 to 2027 for lack NFL QBs. If you don't come out of the NFL gate running like Michael Vick, winning like Russell Wilson, or gunning like Deshaun Watson, your future greatness will rarely ever be imagined for you. With all due respect to Tyrod Taylor, there is no active NFL QB in greater need of our imagination than Geno Smith. A guy who has Geno's skill set is hard to find, praised Ben McAdoo. After Smith's signing, you can't find guys out there that have that type of arm talent, the quick release, the throwing motion and the feet to go with it. Let's add in his high football IQ, his crazy passion, his poise and his situational awareness. When thrown to the Wolves as a rookie, Smith relied on those latter traits to create 5 extra wins. When given just a wine taste of competent catchers, he gave us an NFL crystal ball into what fine wine like Odell might look like. There's no doubt in my mind that when Geno gets a shot, Brandon Marshall has said, he'll be ready and he'll take advantage of it. If you look at the history of great quarterbacks, Geno Smith reflected last year, from Joe Montana and Tom Brady being picked late to Steve Young and what he faced in his early years to Kurt Warner. All those guys, Troy Aikman, struggled in the beginning, but somehow, they continued to press on and got better. Geno knows his QB history. In their first 2 seasons, Steve Young posted a 316 record and Aikman won 318. Both these men struggled early far more than Geno. Young didnt get his first starting crack with the 49ers until his 7th NFL season. There is still time. Surely, an NFL universe that can tap into the wildest of imaginations for a rookie 5th-round draft pick like Nathan Peterman can set aside a couple of brain cells for Smith. Can you imagine Geno as Ellis' successor with a healthy Odell Beckham in 2018? He went 88 with a pile of practice squad receivers, had long ball success with Curley and thrived with Decker. Should NT coach McAdoo want to explore Smith's untapped arm strength with Odell? Can you imagine Geno with a future career as great as Drew Brees? The answer really doesn't matter. It would be insane not to try and find out.